Hey there, and welcome back. Today, we are opening the door to one of the most important, yet almost totally invisible environments on the planet. We're talking about clean rooms, these ultra-pure spaces that are the secret sauce behind, well, basically everything in our modern world.
All right, let me start by asking you something. What in the world does your smartphone have in common with a vial of vaccine or a pacemaker? Seems random, right? Well, the answer is that not a single one of them could even exist if they weren't built in a place with an almost impossible level of cleanliness.
So, here's the game plan for today. First up, we're going to meet the invisible enemy these clean rooms are built to fight. Then we'll get into how clean is actually measured with hard data. We'll climb the ladder of different clean levels, understand the science that makes it all work, and finally, we'll see the incredible world that's built inside these sterile spaces.
You know, to really get a handle on clean rooms, we can't just jump to the solution. We've got to start with the problem, this microscopic threat that every high-tech and medical industry is in a constant battle with.
And that enemy? It's contamination. Think about this. In the world of computer chips, a single speck of dust, completely invisible to you and me, is like a giant boulder crashing down and causing a fatal short circuit. In the world of medicine, one stray microbe can ruin an entire batch of life-saving drugs. Yeah, the stakes are absolutely massive.
So just how dirty is our normal world? Well, in a typical office space, the air you're breathing is packed with anywhere from 500,000 to 1,000,000 tiny particles in every cubic foot. 1,000,000. Just hang on to that number for a minute. That's our starting point.
Okay, so with stakes that high, clean can't just be, a vibe or a feeling. It has to be a number, a hard, cold, measurable number that's recognized all over the world. So let's see how they do it.
And that brings us to the official definition. A clean room is basically a super-controlled space that uses what are called HEPA filters. That stands for high-efficiency particulate air. And these filters just constantly pull particles out of the air to keep it at a very specific level of clean. It's all about control.
And of course, that level of control is all about standards. The old US standard used to measure particles per cubic foot, but today the global standard ISO 14644-1 uses cubic meters. So for our purposes, we're going to stick with the modern ISO numbers, and you're going to see just how wild these numbers get.
All right, this is where it gets really, really cool. Let's actually climb this ladder of clean room classes. We'll start at the dirtiest and work our way up to levels of purity that are honestly hard to wrap your head around.
So let's start at the bottom of the ladder and ISO Class 8 clean room. Now, this is considered the least clean class, but even so, it's still 5 to 10 times cleaner than that office air we were just talking about. Already a huge difference. Okay, let's take a step up to ISO Class 7. This is pretty standard for making things like medical devices. In here, the air is only allowed to have 352,000 particles per cubic meter. And these are particles half a micron in size. Just to give you some scale, a single human hair is about 100 microns thick. We are talking about particles that are ridiculously small. Okay, brace yourself, because this next jump is just wild. We're going to ISO Class 5. This is what's used for the most critical jobs, like filling vials with sterile medicine. Here, the maximum number of particles allowed is just 3,520. We just went from over 350,000 down to under 4,000. That is 100 times cleaner. A huge, huge leap. This chart just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got normal room air, which would be a bar so high it would go through the ceiling. Then you have ISO 8, which looks pretty clean in comparison. And then, look down there. You can barely even see the bar for ISO 5. It's just a tiny sliver on the bottom. The air in there is thousands of times cleaner than the air we're breathing right now.
So that's the big question, right? How in the world do they actually do this? How is this level of clean even possible? Well, it's not magic. It's an incredible mix of engineering, physics, and some really, really strict rules for the people inside.
It really boils down to these 4 pillars. First, you've got that extreme filtration from the HEPA filters. Second, there's a constant, managed flow of that super clean air. Third, everything inside the room, the walls, the tables, the tools, is made of special stuff that doesn't create its own dust. And fourth, you have the human element. Super strict rules that absolutely cannot be broken. Let's talk about that airflow for a second, because this is mind-blowing. In some of the cleanest rooms, you're looking at up to 600 air changes per hour. That means the entire volume of air in that room gets completely swapped out for fresh, ultra-filtered air, 600 times an hour. That's 10 times a minute. It's like being inside a constant, gentle, invisible waterfall of pure air. But you can have all the best tech in the world, and it means nothing without dealing with the biggest source of dirt: us, people. We're constantly shedding skin cells, hair, you name it. That's why anyone who goes in has to follow these intense rules, wearing those head-to-toe bunny suits, no food, no drinks, and wiping down every single thing that comes into the room. You don't just walk into a clean room, you prepare to enter it.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the how. Let's wrap up with the most important part, the why. Why does all this insane effort even matter? Well, it matters because it makes the technology that defines our lives possible.
Let's start with medicine. For pharmaceuticals, being sterile isn't just important, it's everything. When drugs are put into vials, it's happening in an ISO 5 environment. That extreme cleanliness guarantees that the only thing going into that vial is the medicine itself, and nothing else.
And it's the exact same story for medical devices. Anything that's designed to go inside the human body, pacemakers, artificial joints, things like that, has to be made in these sterile clean rooms. It's mandated by law to make sure they're completely safe and won't cause infections.
And that brings us full circle, right back to the question I asked at the beginning. That phone you're holding, the computer you're on right now, it's all powered by chips with components so tiny that a single dust particle would be like a meteor strike. Our entire digital world is born in these clean rooms.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. We've managed to engineer rooms that are basically particle-free voids. It really makes you wonder, as our technology gets even smaller and our medicine gets even more precise, what's next? What kind of future tech will require a space that's not just clean, but perfectly empty? What comes after clean?